Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before we begin tonight's ceremony, I would like to introduce current members of the NFHS Board of Directors. First, our President, Jim Tenneper, from Nebraska, accompanied tonight by his wife, Sharon, and 14 other guests. Next, our President-elect, Ennis Proctor from Mississippi, accompanied tonight by his wife, Judy. Nina Van Urk of New York, representing Section 1. Brad Cashman of Pennsylvania, representing Section 2. Rick Wolko of Iowa, representing Section 4, accompanied by his wife, Barb. Charles Breitup of Texas, representing Section 6, accompanied by his wife, Debbie. Marie Ashida of California, representing Section 7. Mike Colbrese of Washington, representing Section 8, accompanied by his guest, Jan Woldseth. Karen Lenar of Michigan, at-large member representing Section 1 and 4. Mike Harris of Virginia, at-large member representing Sections 2 and 6. Vicki Gapmeyer of Utah, at-large member representing Sections 3 and 7, accompanied by her husband, Bob. Laurel Jungling of North Dakota, at-large member representing Sections 5 and 8, accompanied by his wife, Renee. Bob Canopy, Executive Director of the NFHS, accompanied by his wife, Pat. Ladies and gentlemen, let's show our appreciation for your Board of Directors. Also here tonight are 12 previous inductees in the National High School Hall of Fame. From Indiana, Dave Clyde, class of 1997. From Utah, Dick Rosetta, class of 1999. From Pennsylvania, Mario Donangelo, class of 2000. From Missouri, Don Sparks, class of 2000. From North Carolina, Charlie Adams, class of 2001. From South Dakota, Colin Capitan, class of 2001. From Wisconsin, Karen Kuhn, class of 2002. From New Mexico, Jim Holzman, class of 2003. From Kansas, Susan True, class of 2003. From Colorado, Dick Cotty, class of 2004. From New York, Sandy Scott, class of 2005. From Illinois, Dick Dietz, class of 2008.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to meet the 2009 inductees into the National High School Hall of Fame. Please focus your attention on the stage or one of the video screens as this year's class is introduced. First, one of this nation's founders of modern instrumental music education. From Iowa City, Iowa, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jaime Voxman. The longtime commissioner of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. From Gahanna, Ohio, give a warm welcome to Claire Mascaro. The leader of girls' sports programs in South Dakota for more than 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, give a rousing welcome to Ruth Rain. One of this nation's most respected swimming and diving officials. From Fairfield, Connecticut, give a warm greeting to George Ford. Ladies and gentlemen, one of California's top baseball coaches of all time. Please greet Guy Anderson. The baseball coaching legend from Oak Grove High School in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Give a warm welcome to Harry Breland. Winner of 8 state football championships in Indiana. From Indianapolis, ladies and gentlemen, give a rousing welcome to Dick Dullaghan. One of the most successful basketball coaches in high school history. From Jersey City, New Jersey, it's time to welcome Bob Hurley. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the South Carolina girls track and field coaching great from Irmo, Catherine Limpesis. Representing Billy Baha'i, the 6-sport star from Thief River Falls and Anoka High Schools in Minnesota. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to his daughter, Mary Ruddy. The most dominating pitcher in high school baseball history, the star at Westchester High School in Houston, Texas. Give a warm greeting to David Clyde. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a rousing welcome to the track and field and cross-country star from Wheeling High School in Illinois, Dana Mirabali. At this time, please welcome the presider for tonight's ceremony from the Oklahoma Secondary School Activities Association, Mike Plunkett.
Thank you very much. It is indeed an honor to serve as your presider of this prestigious event. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise and turn your attention to the video screens for this year's rendition of our national anthem. Please be seated. Please be seated. As we mentioned to you last year, the NFHS has started a partnership with SMI Awards as the exclusive supplier of Hall of Fame rings. All 12 of our inductees this year have received rings courtesy of SMI Awards. Join me, please, in thanking Doug Dunleavy and his staff at SMI for this new addition to the Hall of Fame ceremony. At this time, would you please welcome Jim Tenneper, the president of the National Federation of State High School Associations from Nebraska, who will present the awards to outgoing members of the NFHS Board of Directors.
At this time, I would like to recognize and honor our departing Board of Director members. Their efforts and commitment to the NFHS are greatly appreciated. We thank each of them for a job well done and convey our appreciation by presenting them with a ring and a plaque for their years of service. I would ask these individuals to come forward as I call their names. This year's departing board members are Brad Cashman and Laurel Jungling.
Still you.
How about a final round of applause for Brad and Laurel and their tremendous contributions to the Board of Directors.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please welcome Mr. Bob Canby, the Executive Director of the NFHS, who will present the President's Award.
Thank you. It is my distinct pleasure to present the appreciation of this organization to our outgoing president. Celebrating events like this conference, and specifically this banquet, is always a joyous time for all. But the essence of such events are the people who make the events necessary in order to recognize them. It provides us with the opportunity to say thanks and well done, and our president certainly is deserving of such acknowledgement. If I may just deviate for one moment, however, nothing that Jim has been able to accomplish has been done totally by himself, and he would be the first to acknowledge the fact that he has tremendous support, both at home, from his board, and the like. And I think it's appropriate for us at this particular time to recognize Sharon Tenneper, who has graciously worked so hard to make his service so available to us. And although she has her hands full, we have a little gift for her that my wife Pat is going to present to her right now, and she'll have to put it in the other arm instead of that baby. Sharon, thank you so much for all of your support during this year of Jim's presidency. No one can spend any time with Jim Tenneper and not be struck by his seriousness and sense of purpose to serving young people within the concept of education-based athletics and fine arts activities. He is one of those rare individuals who can truly make a difference in the lives of others. This organization asks much of its board and membership, and of those, the president is called on time and time again for leadership, advice, guidance, and a high level of time and energy that would drain those who are less committed. If his tenure is to be measured by readily observed results alone, this federation has prospered greatly under his leadership. But his management style and consideration for others go far beyond the visual measurement of meeting deadlines and goals and introducing new programs, as important as they are. He's a man who supports imagination, a sense of invention, and thinking beyond the scope of everyday responsibilities that clearly make the difference between being good and being great, both in people and in organizations. He inspires and permits people to do their jobs well, but to also place their identity, their mark on each achievement, each completed task, so the sense of pride and achievement is constantly being fed in the individuals and for the membership throughout. Whether on the golf course or the boardroom, you can always count on him for honesty, integrity, and a hearty laugh that speaks to his genuineness as a good person. Once again, this organization and this staff have been blessed by the qualities of his outstanding leadership. And ladies and gentlemen, please join me in expressing our appreciation to President Jim Tenneper.
Thank you, and thank you, Bob. It certainly has been a privilege to have had the opportunity to travel with Bob Canopy and Bob Gardner this past year. We're so fortunate to have a director of Bob Canopy's ability leading our organization. He's such a class act and is an outstanding face and voice for high school education-based activities and our federation. And Bob Canopy is so fortunate to have Bob Gardner as his first lieutenant. Bob, too, is a strong advocate for high school activities and our federation. Bob and Bob, thank you for all your support and all you do for our federation. And I would be remiss if I didn't express my appreciation to the rest of the NFHS staff. I've come to know and to appreciate the great efforts this staff has exerted on our behalf. Thank you for fulfilling the Federation's mission of service. I have truly been humbled to have had the opportunity to serve as your president this past year. I'd like to thank the NFHS board for having faith in me to carry out the responsibilities of this position. I sincerely hope that I've lived up to the expectations and have represented the Federation as you had hoped. And to the NFHS Board of Directors, thank you for your time, effort, thoughtful approach, and sometimes difficult decision-making to assure that our Federation is the best that it can be. My family is especially important to me. 40 years ago this summer, I caught Sharon at a weak moment, and we said I do. And since that day, Sharon has been my partner and confidant. I'm pleased that Sharon was able to accompany me on our many section trips this past year. I'm sure that many of you had the opportunity to meet her and to get to know the best great lady that is the not-so-secret part of any success that I've enjoyed over my professional career. Sharon, please stand and allow me to publicly thank you. Thank you. And with us this evening are our 2 children, their spouses, and our 5 grandchildren. Kristen and Kurt, will you and your spouses and your kids please stand and allow me to say thank you for your love and support. You've already seen him once. Probably the youngest attendee tonight is our newest grandson, Dylan. Dylan is a whopping 19 days old. I'm a bit jealous as he has more hair than his grandfather, and certainly darker hair. Thank you. We also have some extended family with us this evening. Will you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Anyone who has had the opportunity to serve as the president of the National Federation will likely tell you that the task would have been inconceivable had it not been for their staff back in the state office. I have a great staff in the Nebraska Association, and without their collective efforts to assume additional responsibilities this past year, I cannot fathom how difficult this task would have been. I'd like to ask my staff members who are here this evening to please stand and be recognized. Thank you, staff, and also the Nebraska School Activities Association Board graciously gave me permission to serve the NFHS in a more demanding capacity, and I thank those board representatives here tonight. Board members, would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. For many years while serving as a high school athletic director and even during my 18 years as a school superintendent, I often had private aspirations of working one day for the Nebraska School Activities Association. I know that those aspirations were not peculiar just to me. I've had a number of persons over the last 9 years express to me that one day they would like to join the staff of the NSAA. I'm sure some of that is because of their fondness for high school activities, and I'm sure much of that desire is because of their perception that it just has to be fun attending all those state championships and activities. Little did I know and understand, and likely little do they know and understand, the trials and tribulations incumbent with the job. There is a perception that people understand the jobs that you and I do in administering high school activities within our respective states, but do they? The story is told about a Frenchman, the great Blondin, who in 1859 announced to the world that he intended to cross Niagara Falls on a tightrope. 5,000 people, including the Prince of Wales, gathered to watch. Halfway across, Blondin suddenly stopped, steadied himself, backflipped into the air, landed squarely on the rope, and then continued safely to the other side. During the next 2 years, Blondin crossed the Niagara Falls again and again, once blindfolded, once carrying a stove, once in chains, once on stilts, and once on a bicycle. Just as he was about to begin yet another crossing, this time pushing a wheelbarrow, he turned to the crowd and shouted, "Who believes that I can cross pushing this wheelbarrow?" Every hand in the crowd went up. Blondin pointed to one man. "Do you believe that I can do it?" he asked. "Yes, I believe you can," said the man. "Are you certain?" asked Blondin. "Yes," said the man. "Absolutely certain?" "Yes, absolutely certain." "Thank you," said Blondin. "Then, sir, get into the wheelbarrow." Like that man in the crowd, a lot of people know a lot of things. We collectively know a lot of things about high school activities and what's best for the students for whom we are accountable. But also like that man, many of us have found that there are times when knowing things won't matter as much as how difficult the situation is and what happens when we collectively have to decide whether or not to get into that wheelbarrow. One of the things that I've learned in high school association work is that on occasion, the job and its consequences will look you in the eye and say, "Get into that wheelbarrow." At that moment, all of your knowledge won't matter, and how much you like attending ball games won't matter, and the difficult task you dealt with yesterday won't matter. All that will matter is how badly you need to get to the other side and how much you're afraid of falling and failing. I've come to appreciate the Federation family and the trials and tribulations we have experienced to assure positive opportunities for students in our respective states. Litigation, special interest groups, state legislatures, the club movement, coaches who subscribe to the win-at-all-costs philosophy, recruitment and undue influence, eligibility determinations, parents who have difficulty understanding the word no. From time to time, these and other issues present us with the proverbial wheelbarrow. I observed in more than one instance where individuals and state associations across this nation have climbed into those wheelbarrows without hesitation. You've done it because of the sense of fair play and equity and because it was right. Those are the things that many outside the Federation family do not understand. As Sharon and I traveled across the country this past year, our experience was made extra special knowing and understanding that we were associating with those who've walked a mile in our moccasins, those who've had to climb into the wheelbarrow, those who have made strong stands in an effort to further the mission of education-based activities. The opportunity to meet so many of you, including those of you assistant directors in the audience, and having the time to get to know many of you on a different level was so rewarding for both of us. I cannot fully express our appreciation to those of you who hosted the section meetings. Thank you for your kindness and for your hospitality. Our travels acquainted us with so many outstanding programs and services that are being offered to schools and their publics. I'm here to tell you that there are a lot of inspiring things happening across this country for our member schools and for our students. Not everyone gets the opportunity to be associated with such excellence and so many positive people as we have gathered here tonight. We're so fortunate to be involved in positions where we can make an impact for the betterment of our student athletes and the student fine arts activities participants. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day routine and to forget to take the time to remember what is really important. I encourage each of you to take a step back and to realize how fortunate we are to be parts of this group, this Federation family. We're 51 separate entities melding together to provide the best practices and quality opportunities to the young people we serve. Sometimes we lose sight of the fact that collectively we make each other stronger. Sometimes we find issues that tend to divide us. We need to be reminded that we don't always need to agree, but we need to collectively make our Federation stronger and more responsive to the needs of each of the 51 state associations. Our main mission needs to be to share ideas on what is working and continue to look for solutions together for the betterment of our Federation. My challenge to you is to keep the good fight and know that together we will continue to move forward. This has been a most enjoyable year, and I thank you for that contribution.
We will have a special autograph signing time immediately after tonight's ceremony in the foyer outside the ballroom, so we'd like to ask for you not to approach the inductees at their tables during dinner. At this time, I would like to ask for Laurel Jungling, a member of the NFHS Board of Directors from North Dakota, to come forward to deliver the invocation.
I would ask that everyone please bow your heads. Almighty God, we ask that you bless us here this evening as we honor the inductees into the National Federation of State High School Associations Hall of Fame. Be with each of these deserving individuals as they accept these awards this evening. And God, we are thankful these individuals made such a positive impact in the lives of so many people. God, in just 3 days, we as a nation will celebrate another year of our independence. During this time of celebration, we ask your blessing of our armed services across the world as they continue to protect our freedoms we enjoy on a daily basis. We are so fortunate to live in the United States of America and can experience our freedom. We do understand that freedom does not come without a price. So please, God, be with those families that have lost and comfort those families that will lose loved ones as they protect our freedom. In these tough economic times in this world, I ask, God, that you be with our NFHS staff, our state association staffs, and our school administrators as they assume the responsibility to balance their budgets. Please give them the creativity to find the money to continue to fund all of our educational-based activities in our nation's states and schools. Give them the focus to remember how activities can mold our young people into productive citizens. Give us the strength to remember during those difficult days of budget concerns, staff concerns, parent concerns, that we remember that our clients, the middle and high school students across this country, depend on us to offer them the opportunity to participate in educational-based activities. Tomorrow, most of us will travel home from this conference. God, I just pray that everyone is able to make it home safely so we can all enjoy the rest of our summer. Now, as we get ready to enjoy this wonderful evening, please bless the food we are about to receive and the hands that have prepared it. We ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy your dinner.
Tonight, a new roster of dedicated and inspiring individuals will take their hard-earned place alongside the select few who already inhabit this hallowed hall. An outstanding group of people who exemplify all of the very best qualities that high school activities instill in every participant. Tonight, we proudly welcome and salute the newest class of the National High School Hall of Fame.
Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. We have a tremendous ceremony planned for you tonight, the 27th in the history of the National High School Hall of Fame. Since the beginning in 1982, we have inducted 362 outstanding individuals into this prestigious Hall of Fame. Tonight, we are honoring one from the fine arts, 2 administrators, 1 contest official, 5 coaches, and 3 former high school athletes. Our 12 inductees were chosen through a 2-level selection process involving a screening committee composed of active high school administrators, coaches, officials, and state association administrators, and a final selection committee composed of highly respected athletic, education, and business leaders from around the nation. Tonight we will be presenting the 2009 inductees by categories. First, the fine arts category, followed by administrators, then officials, coaches, and athletes. This evening, our inductees will be receiving their Hall of Fame award from Jim Tenneper, the president of the NFHS, and their medallion from a representative of their respective state high school association. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the 2009 inductees into the National High School Hall of Fame, beginning with a salute to the individual from the fine arts category.
What distinguishes the many who simply achieve good things from the select few who achieve greatness? Do they have greater skills than the rest of us? Or do they simply commit an internal discipline and drive to a singular and life-changing focus on high school activities? Who are these people? They are teachers and directors of fine arts, the nurturers, The people who know that scoring points in debate is every bit as meaningful as scoring points in a ball game. More than 4 million students annually participate in speech, debate, music, and theater programs. And these people put in endless hours to coach, inspire, and nurture. And in the process, teach us all that competitiveness and achievement are not limited to sports alone.
Our honoree in the Fine Arts category is Jaime Voxman.
Well, my beginning it was music when some 8th grade teacher came around and said, "How would you like to play the clarinet? We need clarinet players." I never even thought about it. So somebody found an old Albert System clarinet and said, "Here." That's how I got started. Well, as a matter of fact, in a lot of areas, especially this particular one, there was very little written. Of course, at school there were books that dealt with it in part, you know. There was nothing that devoted itself entirely to what I was interested in, so it seemed logical to give some help in that direction. So you get started, you know, you get carried away and so on. Well, I always liked to teach, and I always had a great respect for teachers, I guess. And I had very good teachers. Centerville, where I was, and of course later at the university, I always had a very high regard for the people who were teaching me, I thought. For some, and many, it was a labor of love, of course. They seemed to love it. And I fell into that same position, I guess. And there were a lot of things that needed to be taught. And of course, as far as publication, there was not much published, you know, at the level that I was concerned with beginners and so forth. So I tried to fill bills, let's put it that way. I like traveling around the country and seeing who was doing what where. I was always hopeful that I'd find some teachers that I thought, from hearing their students, that there was somebody doing something really well. I wouldn't be able to name them today, but I always felt that adjudication was very important and ought to be taken seriously. And if there was things came up that you had no business handling, then don't handle them, that's all. I just think from participation in general is educational for a number of ways. First place, of course, you get better. And I think you learn to react with people, and I think that's a very important part of life, you meet with all kinds of people and are involved with them, and on a rather intense level, of course. And if you can manage that without too many enemies or stabbings, I think maybe you've done all right. I've liked people in general, as well as dogs and cats.
It is now time to present the award and the medallion to our fine arts recipient, the individual who has touched the life of every high school music student for the past 60 years through his compositions. Ladies and gentlemen, please extend a warm greeting to Jaime Voxman. Now, ladies and gentlemen, presenting the Hall of Fame medallion to Jaime Voxman is Alan Greiner, the Executive Director of the Iowa High School Music Association. Another round of applause. All right, Jaime. Ladies and gentlemen, I now would like to ask you to direct your attention to the video screens as we honor the administrators in this year's class.
They are administrators, the unsung, who have a 24/7 commitment, propelled by a deep and abiding belief in the value of high school activities. They have no playing field on which to compete, but they find ways to build them. And they win every single game that's played by the mere fact that they make it possible for those events to take place at all.
Our first honoree in the administrators category is Claire Mascaro.
After graduating from college, I put 2 years in the military, and then I started teaching and coaching in Ravenna, Ohio. I did that for 7 years, then I was an assistant principal and athletic director for 4, and then I went to Woodridge High School in Summit County. I was a high school principal for 17 years, and then there was an opening in the state office in '84 for an assistant commissioner, and I put my name in the hat, so to speak, and fortunately for me, I did interview and was offered a position which I took as an assistant commissioner for roughly 4.5 years, and then I was the commissioner for about 15.5. And I've been so privileged in my lifetime to be where I am today. This is, to think of this honor is very, very humbling. Basketball opened some doors for me. Fortunately, I had some success in high school, and I got a scholarship to play basketball at West Virginia Tech, a small college in West Virginia. And I was very influenced by my high school and college coaches. I saw the type of individuals they were, and maybe this was something as a role model that I could be to influence others. So I think my high school coaches probably had a big impact on me as to why I went into teaching and coaching. And as I look back at the years that I attended these meetings, how it helped me in my leadership position, I can't say enough. And I just see so many new young people around, and I'm sure they're feeling just like I do, that these are just a great, great sessions and a meeting to attend. I just enjoy people. And I think that probably in my work, like most professionals, I think oftentimes you can't show that part of you because, not because of the pressure, but that's the nature of the job. But I think once you get out of work and you have some free time and you're with your friends, you kind of relax, and I probably smile more and laugh more when I'm not on the job. I still try to stay active, and I do some speaking to young people. My theme is do the right thing, make good decisions, not excuses. When I get that medallion represents everyone that has an impact on my life. Everyone I've come in contact are part of that. And when I get that medallion, it's because of others. They have made me what I am, and I owe it all to them that have impacted my life. And naturally, your family is part of that as well.
Our other honoree is Ruth Rain.
Role models in my life, of course, I have to start with my mother because she was a very strong person, and I think maybe gave me the inspiration to maybe go out, look outside of the box a little bit. And then as I continued along my career, there were individuals in college and teaching. But when I started working with the association, which obviously was over 30 years of my life, the icons at those times when I started was the Ola Bundy, the Karen Coons, the Dorothy McIntyres, the Claudia Dotsons, and of course from the Federation, Susan True. And those individuals inspired me so much that they helped more than I could even probably explain. You know, accomplishments for me working with the High School Activities Association, I think maybe the number one accomplishment is the perseverance of continuing to work. Working with girls' sports and girls' athletics and promoting those types of activities in a world that so many times people didn't want to give the complete advantage to that gender. And many times I would think, oh, why am I even doing this? Why am I just continuing? And then it would be, well, if you don't, who will? And so I think the perseverance part of it, and then specifically, if I was going to list some accomplishments, I think we've, in South Dakota, took advantage of turning our volleyball program around with such things as rally scoring. We were the first state in the nation to use the smaller basketball way in those early years, and especially use of the small basketball was very controversial because it meant buying new basketballs for the girls, and of course spending money for something like that oftentimes was difficult. So you just kept plugging away and hoping that in the long run it would work out, and amazingly it has. When I look back at various state events, I can still remember the first time we had an absolute sellout packed crowd for a girls' basketball game. And I remember, back then, I'm kind of breaking up right now, standing there in the corner of the gym, looking at the crowd, just thinking, you know, I think we've maybe arrived. I'm an individual that has always been committed to doing what I felt is right, and I like to help people. And when I was a young girl, wanting to many times do something that was outside of the boundaries or outside of the barriers, I remember wanting to wear jeans and cowboy boots to school when girls could only wear dresses. And fortunately, I had a mother that would let me do that. And I think through life, I would continue to want to, if I fell down, I wanted to saddle up and get back on the horse and keep on going. And if I wanted to wear those cowboy boots or whatever, when that was out of the norm, I would continue. So, because I would like people to know that anytime they want to join me and they fall off, just get back on the saddle and the horse and keep on going.
It's time now to present the awards and the medallions to the administrators in this year's class. First, the longtime commissioner of the Ohio High School Athletic Association from Gahanna, Ohio. Please give a rousing welcome to Claire Mascaro. Presenting the Hall of Fame medallion to Claire Mascaro is Dan Ross, the Commissioner of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. One more round of applause. Claire. Our other honoree in the administrators category is one of the champions of girls' sports programs in South Dakota and throughout the nation for the past 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, from Pierre, South Dakota, extend a warm greeting to Ruth Rain. And now, presenting the Hall of Fame medallion to Ruth Rain is Bob Lowry, the Assistant Executive Director of the South Dakota High School Activities Association. I now direct your attention to the video screens once again as we honor the contest official in this year's class.
They are officials, the arbitrators, guardians of fair play. And being right means being perfect, in the right place, at the right moment, drawing on an encyclopedic memory of every rule, and then in a split second, unerringly making the one right call. They're often volunteers who, along with the whistles and flags, carry responsibility for the integrity of the sport into every single contest they officiate.
Our honoree in the officials category is George Ford.
When I was in high school, I played ice hockey. I played semi-pro football on Sunday. I played church basketball during the week. I was involved in a fife and drum corps, and I had a girlfriend. I no longer am involved with the sports, but I still have the girlfriend. After 56 years, she's used to me. My wife was brought up at the shore, and she is the swimmer. And we have 7 children, and all 7 children are swimmers. They're good swimmers, okay? And I used to go to swim meets, and I didn't like the officiating. And I thought, if you're going to object, George, you've got to get involved. So I got involved. But I was very fortunate. I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut, where the coach of the Yale University team was Bob Kippeth, and he too is not a swimmer. And his major accomplishment was to get from one side of the pool to the other without drowning. And if you understand the physiological makeup of the body and the laws of physics, you can basically teach people how to swim and what the best way to swim is. And if you understand things like rowing a boat and stuff like that, you know what the importance of the stroke is and the motor on the back of a boat. So that's how I got involved, and I got very involved. I am a reasonably tough official. The thing is, but everybody that knows me say I am adhering to the rules, but I am fair. And that's the important thing. Right. And then I got involved with Special Olympics some 32 years ago. I got a call from the chairman of the state of Connecticut Special Olympics and said, I understand you referee competitive swimming. And I said, yes, I do. And he said, well, we just had our team come back from the Nationals, and they suffered a lot of disqualifications because they weren't swimming properly. Would you come and do the state championships 2 weekends from now, which I did. And on the first Saturday, there were 85% disqualification in the breaststroke and the butterfly. And so they asked me, would I come to the meeting that night, discuss it with the coaches, which I did. And after he gave a little bit of a speech, he said, Mr. Ford will answer any question. And every hand in the place went up. And I said, all right, we'll start with you. What's your question? You don't understand. And I said, what is it I don't understand? I have a retarded daughter. I said, what we don't understand is that these athletes are trainable, and we didn't train them. Now, some of the things they physically can't do, but you don't involve them in those things. You train them for what they can do. When we first took over, the longest distance they would swim was 50 yards. We now have some of the athletes who will do 800 yards. So what we did was we went out, we trained their coaches to train them. Well, I can swim. I'm a nationally rated swimmer. I'm third after rocks.
Now it's time to present the award and the medallion to the official in this year's class, one of this country's most respected swimming officials from Fairfield, Connecticut. It's time to salute George Ford. And now, presenting the Hall of Fame medallion to George Ford is Mike Savage, the Executive Director of the Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I direct your attention to the video screens again as we salute the 5 coaches in this year's class.
They are coaches, motivators, and strategists. People who set the standards and in the process change lives. They never win a game themselves, but they create winners. And they are, above all, teachers. And what they teach us is how much we can gain by encouraging and supporting the achievement of others in our lives.
Our first honoree in the coaches category is Guy Anderson.
Favorite part of it, I think, is seeing the young people that come through the system have success. And it isn't necessarily being a pro baseball player, but just having success in their own life and coming back and talking to me. And that to me stimulates me a great deal. The other thing it does is just the game is a great game. It's a thinker's game. People don't think it is, but it's a thinker's game. And it's just coaching it and the strategies and working out your practices so they motivate young people so that they do learn something from you. It isn't just throw the ball out and catch it a little bit. And I think the challenge of over the years to me has been the type of youngster that I had back 20 years ago to the more modern youngster that we have today that has a cell phone, has all of those good things that you can text rather, and all that kind of stuff. And to be able to hold their interest on the ball field to me is a real challenge. I think baseball relates to life because, again, if you're a good hitter, that's 3 times out of 10, that's a 300 hitter. That's considered a real good hitter. And so if you're successful in life 3 out of 10 times, that's not bad. You're going to have your failures, you're going to have your success, and you have to learn how to handle them. Well, baseball, again, with 3 out of 10, you've got 7 failures. You better learn how to handle them to be able to move on and have success. So I think that part of it is really important. The other part of it, to me, is the discipline of the game, where, at least in my program, I have a hair requirement. I have a no tattoo shown requirement. That type of thing. We've had to put those all in lately in the last 2 or 3 years. But it's just the idea that there's a discipline there. The uniform means that it's a team. So there everybody wears a uniform in a proper manner. They don't wear it off to the side, the hat, and all those good things that young people like to do. But I think just the idea that if you can keep them in a small group, 20, 13, whatever you have on a team, keep them in a setting that you think is a good one to live by, then all you can do is hope and pray that when they take it out, they'll take a piece of that and become pretty good citizens. Number one, you have to have good athletes. I mean, don't fool yourself. A good coach has to have good athletes. But he also has to provide an atmosphere for those athletes to grow and learn by. And my philosophy has always been fairly simple. If you come out, follow the basic rules that we set up, if you work hard, show me that you really want it, I'll work with you as long as you want to be worked with. The one thing you never want to tell me is, Coach, what time is practice over? That's the one thing you never tell me. But if you want to stay as long as you want, I'll stay there as long as you want. I looked at the booklet that was sent to me from all of the people that are in it, and I just put it down afterwards. My wife said, "What's up?" I says, I just can't tell you what's up. And that's kind of my feeling with it as well. to see the people that are in it, Elroy Hirsch and John Wooden, who's one of my heroes as a coach, to be in it, and the various ones, Johnny Bench, and I could almost tell you all of them because I've just memorized them just about. All I can tell you is I'm very thankful.
Our next honoree is Harry Breland.
I had previously coached in all-black school, and during the integrated years in Mississippi, I was asked to coach baseball, and I had always previously coached basketball, and going into a predominantly white school, 98% white, and I was fortunate enough to be asked by one of the Caucasian coaches to help in basketball, and that opened some doors for me, because the ones that were playing basketball wanted to have a baseball team. And when they saw my commitment to trying to make them better in basketball, they asked the principal to allow me to help them coach baseball. And in so doing, at first year we didn't even have a field, and we practiced in a graveyard. And needless to say, we played like the living dead. And those were some of the beginning years. But after that, you know, the program got on track, and we were able to win 9 state championships and have a real good program, I thought. I think kids are smart enough to read you, and they know when you really care about them, and they know when you're really sincere in what you're doing. And if you can sell them on the fact that it takes a team to be a champion, and everybody, you know, regardless to what size he is or how small he is or how important other people think he is, everybody on that team is important. And we convey that to our kids, and we also convey the fact to them that, you know, home runs win some games, but those small things can win most of the games. We were playing a team that was evenly matched with us, and I was coaching third base, and the game was going along there pretty tight, and it was getting over into the latter parts of the game, and I was kind of worried about getting a run, you know, where we could win. And this kid that was on base, on second base, there was a ball hit up the middle, and he thought it was going through, and he came toward third base, and he turned that corner to go home. And without me even thinking, I reached and grabbed him and threw him back on the base with one hand. And most of the people didn't even see it. But there were a couple of people from this team that we were playing that saw it, and they went, wow, you know. I look back on that now as being overreacting to a situation of really wanting to win that first state championship and getting caught up in the game. I've always felt that, you know, we as human beings can do things that, you know, make things better for people. And I'd like to think that me being a black coach and me coaching a predominantly white team, that it's a chance to show people that we can all get along. I'm humbled by it. I really am. I'm humbled by the fact that somebody that started off with beginnings of the type that I started off with, you know, can be in this situation.
Our next honoree is Dick Dullaghan.
I felt like my 4 years in college football were like going away and getting a doctor's degree in football, because Jim Young was a brilliant man and a great teacher of the game, and he taught me so much, so that when I went back to high school, because I realized after 4 years in college that Dick Dullaghan belonged in high school, and I realized that I needed to be around younger kids that you had more influence over them. In college, it was a little bit too much of a business for me. I loved the high school aspect of coaching kids. The principal, when I called him and I said, is your football job still open? This is 1984. And he said, I've been hoping you'd call me. He said, where are you? And I said, I'm on the east side of Indianapolis. and I've stopped to see my father, and I'll be here for a day or so, and he said, "Let me call you back in 5 minutes." He called me back and said, "We want to talk to you. We want to talk to you right now, today." And so I made a trip over to Ben Davis, and he invited me to come back for a full interview in front of a big committee about 3 weeks later. We won our first one in my fourth year there in 1987, and then we won in 88, and then we won 90 and 91. So 4 out of the next 5 years we were state champions, and just had a great run of kids and great athletes and great coaches and administrators that really wanted you to win and gave you everything you needed to do to win. And we wound up winning 7 times at Ben Davis, and it was so much fun and so many memories and so many good kids, so many good people that you dealt with, that I just consider myself a very blessed man. Well, we believe in kids, first of all, and my staff and myself, I believe that kids today are just as good as they ever were, and in some ways they're even better, because they're so well informed, and they want discipline, and they crave to be loved and cared for, and they want you to really see them do well. And when you empower them with knowledge, and when you convince them that they are good and that they can play well, they perform, and they love you for loving them. Kids just want recognition. They just want to be appreciated. They just want to show you how good they can be, and it doesn't make any difference whether it's football or baseball or fine arts or the debate team or the quiz team. It doesn't matter. It's all about, it's not what you get for playing, it's what you become because you played. Or it's not what you get for doing something, it's what you become because you did it, and the things that you learned while you were doing it.
Our next honoree is Bob Hurley.
I started coaching the freshman team at St. Anthony's in 1968, and I coached the freshmen for 2 years, and then I coached the varsity JV team for 3 years, and I became the varsity coach in 1973. And it's it's terrific. It's a small school. At the time, I think when I began coaching, maybe high 200s, maybe 275, 280 students. Maybe it maxed out at one time somewhere around 300, though it'd be hard to imagine where everybody was sitting in that building. And it probably stays around 250 now. And it's, it's kids that are terrific, city kids, really tough kids. The ones I'm involved with in basketball really love their sport. And it's been a great avenue for kids to continue their education, and for us, we've been able to be the little school that comes from the mean streets of Jersey City. The kids are very disciplined. We can compete, I think, against just about anybody, and our school doesn't have a gym. So there's always the story about the little school from Jersey City. It's always got pretty good teams, but there's no gym to play the home games in. It's not like we're outdoors or anything, but we don't have a place right at the school. Bobby entered St. Anthony's in '86, and so he played '86, '87, '88, and '89. Danny came in 2 years later, so Danny was around for '90 and '91. During the 6 years they were in school, we won 6 state championships during those years, and on either side of it a couple more. So we had won 9 straight state championships, which is a National Federation record. And of those 9 years, 6 of them we had, my sons on the team, and my wife Chris. When we would get home from practice, there would be a period of time we had to, get ready for dinner, and then no television could be on. We would sit down and talk a little bit. Had to try to be unrelated to basketball. And we'd all kind of like sit there, and then we'd wait for like the time to elapse, and at a certain point we'd put ESPN on and watch like the 7 o'clock game at night. So I think we've won 23 state championships, I guess, since I started coaching. 23 or 24, I'm not even sure what the number is. And we've had 4 or 5 undefeated teams. and almost 200 kids have gotten scholarships now. So there have been some great things. But we tell the kids all the time, take a piece of paper, write down your short-term goals as an individual and as a team member in basketball, put on a piece of paper, and then write your dream on the bottom, and then hang it up in your bedroom. Get up in the morning, take a look at your piece of paper, and say, well, yeah, this is what I really want to do. Go out that day and try to do something to reach it. And then at the end of the day, before you turn the light out in your room, look at the piece of paper and then say, what did I do today? Was it a day that I helped myself to reach my goals? And if kids do that, it's remarkable how many ordinary people can do extraordinary things. And if you're a good person and you're a good student, it's amazing how many times you also can be a good player. It's a wonderful thing, but I would do it. I would do it for nothing, and the nuns have pretty much held me to that standard over the years.
Our final honoree in the coaches category is Catherine Limpesis.
I grew up on a farm, a rural area in Sumter County in South Carolina. And my brothers and my sister and my mom and dad lived with my grandmother, and she was a farmer. And we stayed outside constantly. I guess with 4 kids, they didn't want us to be in very much. And so during the hot summer months, I ran and played baseball with the guys and climbed trees and rode my bike for hours. And so I was always very active to begin with. But actually, as I got older in high school, I played basketball. There was no track. I was a basketball player and a cheerleader. I had a girl named Karen Woolfolk, and my daughter was hurt at the state meet, and she couldn't do all the events. And for us I felt like to win the state meet, instead of this girl just running one event, the 2-mile, which she could have won as state champion, I needed her to run the 800 to get some points for the team. And at that point, that was a very difficult thing for her to do, but she did it. And so I think she finished second in the 2-mile. She gave up a state championship, individual state championship, for a team state championship. And I never forgot that. And I know it was difficult for her parents because they knew that she could have been the individual 2-mile state champion. So that was another thing. But those are the kind of things that we built on year after year. Those kind of stories, and to give up of yourself. You're not the most important thing. This team is the most important thing. So we stopped doing the individual, worrying so much about that, and more of a team. And it takes some emphasis off of them, and some pressure, because they know they're just working as a unit instead of that, oh, I got to win this. It's everybody. So it's pretty much the way we did the entire time we were coaching. Of course, my daughter was a very interesting young woman. I guess it was rather tough for her at times, to have a mom as her coach, and I was extremely demanding. There are just no 2 ways to say that. I was incredibly direct. I want you to do it this way, that way. Of course, I would listen to them and understand their feelings, but at the same time, I wanted this workout done in a certain time. And so I'd send them off on a long run, 3 or 4 of the girls. They were in different groups. And of course, my daughter being the ringleader, they would stop off at the Krispy Kreme donut place. Or I'd have neighbors say, yeah, I know you sent the girls out to run, but I saw them at such and such a place. And they maybe would do half of the workout. But that was always kind of cute. And I just let it go, because they worked so hard doing the other days that, that was fine. I didn't expect them to do everything. I don't know anything really funny. I don't know. I'm just not, I don't know anything funny. I don't. I'm just real straight. Matter of fact, the kids know me as, oh God, Coach Limp, you get in her class, she's gonna kill you, kind of thing. So I just don't know of anything really. I don't know of anything funny.
Let's give these 5 individuals another round of applause, please. It's time now to present the awards and medallions to our coaches. First, the baseball coaching great from Cordova High School in Rancho Cordova, California. Ladies and gentlemen, give a rousing welcome to Guy Anderson. Presenting the Hall of Fame medallion to Guy Anderson is Maria Shida, the Executive Director of the California Interscholastic Federation. Our next honoree in the coaches category is the Mississippi baseball coaching legend who led Oak Grove High School to 9 state championships. From Hattiesburg, Mississippi, give a warm greeting to Harry Breland. Presenting the Hall of Fame medallion to Harry Breland is Ennis Proctor, the Executive Director of the Mississippi High School Activities Association. Our next inductee in this category is one of Indiana's top all-time football coaches who won 313 games and 8 state championships from Indianapolis. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dick Dullaghan. Presenting the Hall of Fame medallion to Dick Dullaghan is Blake Ress, Commissioner of the Indiana High School Athletic Association. Our next inductee in this category led St. Anthony High School in New Jersey to an amazing 23 state basketball championships. From Jersey City, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a rousing welcome to Bob Hurley. And now, presenting the Hall of Fame medallion to Bob Hurley is Steve Timko, the Executive Director of the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association. Our final inductee in the coaches category is the most successful girls track and cross-country coach in South Carolina history. From Irmo, South Carolina, extend a warm greeting to Catherine Lempesis. And now, presenting the Hall of Fame medallion to Catherine Lempesis is Jerome Singleton, Commissioner of the South Carolina High School League. I direct your attention to the video screens again as we salute the 3 athletes in this year's class.
They are athletes, strong and confident, whose biggest muscle is often their heart. Athletes who awe us with their agility and their accomplishments, that a seemingly insurmountable challenge may only be the next stepping stone to greater accomplishments. By bringing out the best in themselves, they show us by example that each of us has that same capacity.
Our first honoree in the athletes category is Billy Bye.
My favorite thing about him was just knowing that Billy Bye's smile and the twinkle in his eye, and everything would be better.
Although Billy Bye's high school career in Minnesota ended almost 65 years ago, he is perhaps the most prolific and versatile athlete in the state's history. Competing at Thief River Falls High School in grades 7 through 10 and Anoka High Schools in grades 11 through 12, Bye earned an amazing 21 letters in 6 sports: ice hockey, golf, football, basketball, baseball, and track and field. Among his numerous accomplishments, Bye captained an undefeated football team, a district champion basketball team, and a state champion baseball team. Bye was named to all-star teams in football and baseball, and was all-conference and all-district several times in football and basketball.
Our favorite memories are at their cabin up at Bay Lake. That was where he had the accident, but that's our home base. And we've been harassing them for a boat. So Labor Day weekend, we packed up a dog, cat, lawnmower, everything in the car, and we're going back, and Dad and Mom announced they're buying the boat. And my brother and sister and I are bouncing up and down, and finally we hit the boat. I said, what about the motor? And my brother and I are 10 and 11, 10 and 12, and he said, you're buying the motor. So it was very much a family group together, and I think that was, Dad was a team. I think that was what made him successful, was he was taught from an early age that he was a member of the team, and the team was bigger than the individual. And I think his players, as they came through, his Billy's boys, as they called themselves, from Medina High School, where he was coach of the year of that football team, they just had a reunion a year ago. So as a coach, he was a mentor, he was just someone you loved.
Bye also was a leading scorer on Thief River Falls hockey teams prior to the MSHSL sponsoring a state tournament. Unbelievably, during his senior season, Bye won the district golf championship in the morning to advance to the region tournament, played on the championship baseball team in the afternoon, and qualified from the district to the region track and field meet in 5 events that same evening.
Dad was, from a very early age, he wanted us to do the best. And sometimes that didn't mean we'd win, but just so we did our best. And from the very beginning, he was an advocate for also women in sports. I'm one of the generation that really didn't have sports growing up at that point, but from the very beginning, he told me to run my best and not apologize if I beat the boys, in which I did. And I wasn't very popular for beating the boys, but I think from the very beginning, he wanted people, and I think what athletics was, it made us better. And I think there might be where he was, his commitment to it is that like himself, was able to go on college and was recognized for his athletic abilities. It was life-changing ability for those, maybe their careers in athletics stopped in high school, but the ability to compete, to achieve the lifetime skills that those young people carried with them for life is what's making the United States what it is today. And he's a very strong proponent for that continuation of athletics in the high school level. Very strong at that point. And I think his happiest days, he enjoyed everything. I think his happiest days was when he was coaching his boys at Edina High School. He really did enjoy those days.
After a stint in the U.S. Navy, Bye played college football at the University of Minnesota in the late 1940s and was the team's leading scorer all 4 seasons and team MVP in his freshman year. He then played in the Canadian Football League for 3 years before returning to Minnesota to teach and coach. Bye is a member of the University of Minnesota and Thief River Falls Athletic Halls of Fame, and this spring was inducted into the MSHSL Hall of Fame.
He'd be very humbled. I had the joy of working with him, which was some like times pulling taffy, because he didn't talk about his accomplishments. I encouraged him to do it because we wanted to know the fact from the fiction, and his grandchildren deserved to know what that story was and his legacy. But he'd first like to congratulate the others, those that are in, and watching him earlier at the Minnesota State High School League induction ceremony, he'd be sitting in awe of the other people that are being inducted in and say, didn't they do wonderful things? And he would probably think theirs was better than him.
Our next honoree is David Clyde.
You have to learn to win. And at times you have to will yourself to win, even in the darkest moments of when you think everything is totally insurmountable. You have to will it upon yourself. And sometimes you have to will it upon yourself so much that you have to carry the team with you, because maybe the team doesn't believe. And I mean, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't believe you can win, something's going to happen to keep you from winning. And so whether it's the fear of failure or what it may be, you can't be afraid to fail. If you're always setting your goal at second place rather than first place, you're going to be pretty amazed at how often you achieve your goal. And it's not my goal in life to always finish second. I always try to finish first in whatever I do, to a fault. I'm a perfectionist that lets way too many things get too convoluted and wound up that takes me 4 and 5 days to do a 10-minute job, and so but that's just part of me. And so as a senior in high school, I didn't expect to fail ever. I knew when I took the mound that other ball club was going to have to do something very, very special to beat me today. And I didn't care if it took 7 innings or if it took 14 innings or however long it took. I was not going to let that other team get the best of me. I made the ball club as a freshman. I walked 17 men in my first scrimmage in 2 innings. And so it couldn't do anything but get better from there. And so what I try to relate to a lot of young men today about some things that happened in my career is what I accomplished in one afternoon as a freshman, walking 17 men in about 2 innings. It took me an entire season to accomplish my senior year. But what I'm trying to allude to that is that it doesn't happen by accident. To become a full-fledged, real-deal pitcher takes years of work. And so, as I told him, I said, I wasn't near as bad as that 17 walks appeared to be as a freshman, but through lots of blood, sweat, and tears, hard work, screaming and shouting at my dad, and I'm really surprised that my dad didn't get up and walk away from me, because I guess kind of like a lot of children with their parents, don't think they know a whole lot about anything when you're growing up. And so I got to give all my thanks to my dad, who's in the crowd tonight. Going into the state tournament my senior year, 4 teams qualify for the state tournament from all over the state, and we were going to play Galena Park. And we had played Galena Park in summer ball and stuff, so there was kind of a friendly rivalry there, even though we were from opposite sides of the city. And through the way the districts broke down, we went north in the state, and they were from the southern part of the state. There was a first baseman on that team by the name of Crockett Dubose, and we got quite a bit of publication in the Houston papers and everything. Well, Crockett decided to pop off in the paper and say, if anybody can hit Clyde, I can. And that seemed to motivate me just a little bit. Well, I threw a 1-hitter in the semifinal game against Galena Park. I would have just as soon thrown a 37-hitter and won 14-13, because the one person who got the hit, Crockett Dubose.
Our final honoree in the athletes category is Dana Mirabali.
I started running when I was 12. I had always wanted to run because my older cousins ran in high school, and I didn't have older siblings. I was the oldest in my family. So in 7th grade, a couple of my girlfriends who had done running in 7th grade decided to pull me out on the team with them. And that's how I started. In the first couple races, a good friend of mine from like age 3, we ran the first 2 races. We'd run, we'd walk, we'd run, we'd walk. Thought it was kind of fun, whatever. But I knew I wasn't very tired. And then the 3rd race, I won. And it was a big invitational, and it kind of shocked everyone. And that's when the coaches said, okay. And they put me into a whole different training regimen with kids who've been running for years. And that's how I started. And then, so that was in junior high. So it was basically junior high program was a very good program. And it fed into our high school, which was also a very good program. So I was just very lucky to have exceptional coaches and teammates to run with, because our teams always were very good. And so I always had great training partners. My team for cross country won state my freshman year and my junior year. and I won 4 straight cross-country state titles, and I had the state course record my senior year. And in track, my first 3 years, the team was runner-up, and I won 4 3,200-meter titles and 2 1,600-meter titles, and I won the 1,600-meter titles my junior, senior year. You learn time management, you learn commitment, you learn to not give up, you learn dedication, and I think that just kind of, you get that early on in life, it just kind of follows you. And so if you were successful in sports, you're probably successful in academics, hopefully your career, hopefully, you know, relationships and everything else that follows. And I think just having it early on with parents and coaches, kind of instilling that in you all every day, it just follows through and it becomes natural. We were running in a triangular meet, which means 3 teams. It was conference meet, conference teams, so it was important for the standings for the conference at the end. And one of the teams was the team his daughter ran on, so she likes to also tell this story, and another team. And he had told me, this was my senior year, the team was not as strong as it had been my first 3 years. In fact, it was the only year my team did not qualify for the state meet. And he told me to keep them together for the first 3/4 of a mile to a mile, and then just to go off on my own and run. And so I said, okay. So the gun goes off. We haven't gone, I don't think, 100 meters. The only runner with me is the sprinter I mentioned earlier, and all of our distance runners had fallen off. So Nancy, who was the sprinter, looked at me and she said, go back and get them. So I turned around and went back the other direction to pull them back up with Nancy to run with us. So I went back to get them, and everyone, I didn't really think twice about it. My coach was like, oh, there she goes, she's throwing the race, but that's fine. It doesn't matter for her, because there was a very good runner from one of the schools there. It never occurred to me. I was just like, whatever. So I went back, tried to get them. They didn't really come. I was very frustrated. And so I went back to Nancy. She's like, where are they? And I said, they didn't come with me. And we just kept running. And then, you know, at a mile, I left her and I went. And then I caught the girl in the lead and ended up winning the race. But it never occurred to me, like, to not turn around for them, because he had told me to keep them with us. And he just thought it was funny. And he said he wasn't upset. He's like, he thought, well, she's not going to win. No big deal. But I think because he'd always told me that I could win, that it never occurred to me that I couldn't. He had instilled so much confidence in me that I was able to catch the runner in the front. And I think that kind of goes to lessons learned of just kind of believing in yourself. And, you know, sometimes the mental can override the physical.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a rousing round of applause for our 3 athletes in this year's class. It's time now to present the awards and the medallions to our 3 athletes. Our first honoree is the late Billy By, one of the most prolific and versatile athletes in Minnesota history, from Thief River Falls in Anoka. Please give a warm welcome to Billy's daughter, Mary Ruddy, as she comes forth to accept his award. And now, presenting Billy By's Hall of Fame medallion to Mary is David Stead, Executive Director of the Minnesota State High School League. Our next honoree in this category is one of the most dominant pitchers in high school baseball history, from Westchester High School in Houston. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a rousing welcome for David Clyde. And now, presenting the Hall of Fame medallion to David Clyde is Charles Brydup, the director of the Texas University Interscholastic League. And our final inductee in the athlete category is the cross country and track star from Wheeling High School in Illinois, who won 10 state championships. Ladies and gentlemen, please extend a warm greeting to Dana Mirabali. And now, presenting the Hall of Fame medallion to Dana Mirabaldi is Marty Hickman, the Executive Director of the Illinois High School Association. Ladies and gentlemen, how about one final rousing round of applause for the 2009 inductees into the National High School Hall of Fame. At this time, I would like to call upon Bob Hurley, who will accept the awards on behalf of the 2009 induction class. Mr. Hurley.
Wow. It becomes extremely difficult to get up here the longer you hear the stories and meet the people that are involved in this. And then, as was said earlier today, when I was able to look at the book to see who was in the Hall of Fame, it became very difficult, and I kept saying to my wife, how come I have to come up here right now? This is such a difficult thing to do because of the sheer strength and power of this group that I have joined along with my classmates. But I did write some notes, and in a very disorganized fashion, I just wanted to talk a little bit. You know, our first inductee today, Jaime, is the John Wooden of music. At 96, with 60 years in the arts right now, he's an amazing example of sustaining energy and being relevant as one gets older. Our group of people, and I actually took the glasses out, so I think I should put them on. In the administrators area, both Claire and Ruth. Claire, 44 years of working in this, 48 years actually of working in the school system, and Ruth in a time when women's sports was something that, you know, budgets weren't prepared for it. The role of women in society was just not, it was not there. She was a pioneer and has done tremendous things. George, who's from the East Coast like me, is, you know, reminds me very much of myself in a swimming venue. You know, a hard, tough guy who demands nothing but the best from those that he's around. And my coaching brethren, who I had a chance to meet today, I have to tell you that I'm late getting here, so I missed a lot of the things because I'm up in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania running basketball camp. And my wife and I came today, and I have white socks on right now because I came, and I'll show you. I came right from basketball camp, and I'm running back tomorrow morning. But I didn't know the volume. I didn't understand this whole thing. And having a chance to hear everybody today, I'm humbled to be in the company of those that I am. Particularly, though, because I've been a high school coach for a very long time. And my brethren here, Guy, 40 years in coaching in California. Jerry Manuel's coach in high school. Jerry Manuel, the manager of the Mets. I can't figure that out because Coach looks better than Jerry Manuel right now. Harry Breland, coaching in high school, 37 years in baseball in Mississippi. And Dick, 31 years coaching football in Indiana. And Catherine, 24 years of being a track coach. They're utterly amazing, and I'm so excited to be a part of this group. And then to hear the story of Billy Bye, it's just utterly incredible what the man accomplished. David Clyde, the greatest high school pitcher to ever pitch. And Dana, whose statistics and performance is unparalleled from the running game. So this class, the 27th class, now joins 300 plus people. Oscar Robertson, Paul Brown, the great football coach, Chris Everett, Cheryl Miller, and 300 other people of incredible resumes. I want to personally thank the state associations for all of us for nominating for us, our families for their support. You know, high school coaching sometimes can be very, very, very lonely. There's a lot of hours, and you have to have understanding family. Our associates at the schools we represent, okay, all the faculty, administration, all the people who are there for us, helping us to, to reach our mission, and the young people who inspire us. The 42 years I've been at my school, I'm retired now. My job appears to be now just to be a coach all the time, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I have up at the Poconos 5 of my kids that are going to be in my freshman class next year, so I think I've signed on for 4 more years because I've enjoyed the time I've spent with them already. For me personally, I'd like to acknowledge a man who has been a mentor and someone who I have tried to emulate, and that's Bob Canopy. Now, you don't know Bob Canopy like I do. Bob Canopy was a high school coach at St. Anthony's, and he was in the first graduating class in our school. And for kids over the years, we've pointed to the accomplishments of our kids over the years and continue to point to where Bob has gone from the head of the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association to become the director of the national program right now, which is absolutely, inspiring. I have to mention my high school coach, Jerry Halligan, who made me think that being a high school coach was important. And I had a kid who I spoke to here who lives out in Chicago, who lives here now. One of the kids who's inspired me quite a bit is Rashawn Burno, who's now a high school coach here, who lived an extremely difficult life back in Jersey City and took some talent into basketball to help him to change his life. I'd like to thank you all for recognizing all of us, but not just our experiences with young people we've come in contact, but the greatest award of this is not just that, but it's our relationship with them. So the award tonight is terrific, but nothing like just the time we've spent with young people. My last thing, and it's a little disjointed because I'm overwhelmed by who I'm around, is that there's a woman here with me who has been my scorekeeper for the last 20 years, responsible for the 2 point guards that they allude to in the video, and someone who left basketball camp with me and is running around doing all those things that coaches' wives do. So in closing, I'd like my wife, Chris, to please stand up right now. And I just had to tell you one story. Mrs. Hurley's looking pretty good. When we came home from a basketball trip, obviously another basketball trip, we went to Italy in June, and coming back from Italy, my daughter had just had a baby. So my daughter felt that we really needed the baby to stay over the first night we got back from Italy. So with the time change, we were all whacked. We had Melissa and our little Gabriel stayed over, and the next day we had the National Federation filming at our house. And when they arrived, and I guess it was Laura arrived with the camera crew, my wife is still running on European time, taking care of the baby. My daughter had a toothache and left. And my wife was now running everything, and I was, as coaches were, I was somewhere else doing something related to basketball and got home just in time for the wreck of the Hesperus. My wife made it her point tonight to make sure that Laura saw her on one of her better days. And I see her on a lot of better days, but she has been there for us, as we all know, the significant others in our lives put up with the nights when we come home complaining about the kids, and the next morning we're running out to get to practice. So I again want to thank her. She's been my assistant coach and scorekeeper for 38 very good years. Thank you very much, babe.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, Bob. I would like now to call upon Bob Canopy, the Executive Director of the NFHS, for his closing comments. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Bob.
Well, good evening, and what a wonderful evening it's been. Before I begin with some prepared thoughts about this evening's events and the entire conference, we've been here now for 5 days of meetings and things. How about joining me in expressing our appreciation for our Master of Ceremonies, who's done a great job for us tonight, Mike Parker.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
To start this evening, we have a special national anthem that in my trips around the group, no fewer than 3 people asked me if they could get a copy. We started each of these banquets with that presentation of the national anthem. And each time that I view it, I have to choke back my emotions, as I'm sure some of you had to do. We first showed that in 1995. But lately, as I've watched it these last few years, and particularly tonight, it's brought to mind a question. And the question to me is a question I would pose to you to ask you to consider. The question in my mind is, what is America to me? I have to believe that there are many people in this country that rarely ask themselves that question, and even more disappointing, cannot provide an answer that's based on the values of our origin. Today, it may not be unusual to feel a sense of confusion about the nature and purpose of our country. From the daily political partisan comments to bloggers and Twitters offering their opinion as fact, we seem to struggle at times with our own identity, our own role, and our place in this world as a nation. Some may ask, with all I hear day after day, what am I to believe? And what does it matter? Well, it does matter. It matters if we seek to fulfill our accepted role in this work that we do. It matters if we seek a personal answer to the question, what is America to me? To answer that question, I suggest that we must remember who we are. What role do we play in our definition of what America is to me? Perhaps our answer lies in the lyrics of a song titled "The House I Live In," which was written in 1943. It was released in a movie starring Frank Sinatra in 1945 as a patriotic anthem during World War II. It was awarded an Oscar that same year. The house in the title was a metaphor for our country. Sinatra loved the song, and he performed it for Ronald Reagan at the rededication of the Statue of Liberty in 1986. Let's watch and listen to it carefully.
What is America to me? A name, a map, or a flag I see, a certain word, democracy. What is America to me? A house I live in, a plot of earth, a street, the grocer and the butcher, and the people that I meet, the children in the playground, the faces that I see, all races and religions, that's America to me. The place I work in, the worker at my side, the little town or city where my people lived and died, the howdy and the handshake, the air of feeling free, and the right to speak my mind out, that's America to me. The things I see about me, the big things and the small, the little corner newsstand and the house a mile tall, the wedding and the churchyard, the laughter and the tears, the dream that's been pavement of the city, or a garden all in bloom. The church, the school, the clubhouse, the million lights I see, but especially the people. That's America to me.
What is America to us? Some additional guidance was provided by that same President Reagan in his farewell address to the nation. He said, quote, "If we forget what we did, we won't know who we are," close quote. I would add, hopefully, with his agreement, if we forget what others have done for us, who we are will pass away. Somewhere, sometime, somehow, an individual touched each of us in a very special way. They created in us a sense of purpose and pride in becoming the kind of people in which they would be proud. They gave us a sense of goodness to be used throughout our entire lives. Alexis de Tocqueville was sent to this country by France in 1831 to study this new nation in order to discover what made it so different in the world at that time. I believe he captured it best when he wrote, "I sought for the greatness and genius of America in her commodious harbors and her ample rivers, and it was not there. I sought for the greatness and genius of America in her fertile fields and boundless forests, and it was not there. In her rich mines and in her vast world commerce, and again, it was not there. In her democratic Congress and her matchless Constitution, and it was not there. Not until I went into the churches of America and heard her pulpits flame with righteousness did I understand the secret of her genius and her power. America is great," he wrote, "because she is good. And if America ever ceases to be good, she will cease to be great," close quote. America is great because America is good. That belief identifies our role as part of our answer to the question, what is America to me? As a group, we sponsor and conduct athletic and fine arts activities. We run state championships and oversee opportunities for young people to compete at all levels. It is what we do, but it is not what we are about. We are about what de Tocqueville observed regarding Americans. We are about the promulgation of good people for this nation. We are about using sport and fine arts activities to create honesty, integrity, charity, and so many other good traits in young people for the future goodness of America. Our models are before us tonight, this class of 2009. Their achievements and ongoing contributions, which we have recognized, are the examples we must follow. The good represented in them is rarely going to be read about with any regularity in today's press. No, if we're to honor their contributions and continue this type of work with future generations, it must be through us and this work that we do. We must pass it on. This is part of our America and the role that we play. We produce goodness in people through the athletic and activity programs at the high school level. We must pass it on so we can fulfill the advice of Walt Whitman, who wrote, "Create good people. All the rest follows." We must pass it on so we can pay ultimate tribute to the class of 2009 and to recognize also the contributions of other classes that have preceded them, and each of you for your lifetime efforts on behalf of young people. we must pass it on to retain or, if necessary, recreate our definition of what America means to us. The last two lines of the song sung by Frank Sinatra read, "The church, the school, the clubhouse, the million lights I see, but especially the people, that's America to me." Let's be sure creating good people remains of what America means to us. Let's continue to pass a sense of goodness onto the young people each of us serve every day. Let's continue to be the individual who somewhere, sometime, somehow touches the life of a young person in a way that impacts them for a lifetime. It's what America means to us. God bless our efforts. Please arrive home safely.
The 2009 inductees will be stationed at tables in the foyer area outside the ballroom for anyone interested in congratulating this year's inductees or obtaining their autographs. At this time, please give your attention to the Hall of Fame inductees as they depart from the room. We ask everyone to please remain seated as our inductees leave. And how about one more rousing round of applause?
Every time I look into your loving eyes, I see love that money just can't buy. One look from you, I drift away. I pray.
Congratulations again to the class of 2009. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for your attendance here tonight. The 2009 NFHS summer meeting will now stand adjourned. Good night.